Aiden Khan stood before the mirror, adjusting his tie for what felt like the 100th time. His reflection stared back at him, tired eyes, a sharp suit, and the faint shadow of sleepless nights. For weeks, he'd been preparing for this day, scripting, revising, and rehearsing his pitch until every word burned into his memory. This wasn't just another meeting. It was a moment he'd been waiting for, his chance to prove that talent could shine even without privilege or connections. He whispered the opening line again under his breath, voice steadying with each repetition. The pitch deck glowed on his tablet. Slides neat, persuasive, and ambitious. This is it, he told himself. Either they see me today, or I disappear like everyone else who tried and failed. When he finally stepped into Vanguard Industries' boardroom, the air was cool and heavy with authority. Polished marble floors reflected the light from a panoramic city view. A long glass table stretched before him, lined with executives in tailored suits. At the far end sat Mr. Harrington, the legendary CEO himself, calm, unreadable, yet not unkind. When their eyes met, he gave a slight nod, an unspoken signal that said, "Go ahead, son. Show us what you've got." Aiden inhaled, heart pounding but hopeful. He clicked the first slide. "Good morning, everyone." But before he continued, the door burst open and in walked the CEO's daughter. The heavy door slammed open with force that sliced through Aiden's words. Every head in the room turned as Isabella Harrington strode in, tall, immaculate, and commanding in a tailored white suit that screamed confidence and authority. The sharp click of her heels echoed against the marble floor, as if each step announced her dominance. Without so much as an apology, she stopped at the table's head and dropped a thick folder onto the glass surface. Papers fanned out, the sound startling in the tense silence. "We've already approved my proposal," she said coolly, her tone laced with finality. "We don't need any freelancers wasting our time." Aiden froze, his mouth half open mid-sentence. The presentation remote in his hand suddenly felt heavy, useless. His carefully rehearsed lines scattered from his mind like startled birds. Around the table, the executives exchanged uneasy glances, some looking down, others shifting in their seats. He looked toward Mr. Harrington, searching for rescue, for fairness. But the CEO's expression was guarded, conflicted. His gaze flicked from his daughter to Aiden, then back again, and finally lowered. In that single, crushing moment, Aiden understood. No one was going to stand up for him. Silence clung to the boardroom after Isabella's declaration, thick and suffocating. Aiden's pulse roared in his ears as he gathered his laptop, hands trembling despite his effort to appear composed. No one met his eyes, not the executives, not the assistants, not even the man who had once nodded encouragingly from the head of the table. The scrape of his chair against the polished floor was the only sound that dared to break the stillness. He slipped out quietly, the door closing behind him with a soft thud that somehow sounded final. As he walked down the corridor, he could hear the faint hum of whispered voices trailing after him, the sound of pity, maybe mockery. Each step felt heavier than the last. "Aiden, wait!" A familiar voice called out. Maya, one of the junior strategists and his closest ally in the company, rushed to his side. Her eyes were full of apology. "You didn't deserve that," she murmured. He forced a thin smile. "It's fine," he lied, though his chest ached with humiliation. But as soon as he stepped out of the glass doors, the sky split open and rain poured down, cold and relentless, as if the universe itself pitied him. That night, alone in his small apartment, Aiden opened his rejected proposal on the screen. The slides glowed.
Without Aiden's genuine insight, the concept felt hollow. Reports showed poor engagement, client dissatisfaction, and confusion over the brand's message. Employees whispered behind closed doors, questioning if the CEO's daughter had bitten off more than she could chew. While Isabella struggled to hold her crumbling project together, Aiden's name started circulating quietly in industry circles. The irony was almost poetic, her empire faltering under the weight of pretense, while his dream, born from rejection, was beginning to soar. The grand hall buzzed with energy. Tech leaders, investors, and innovators gathered under one roof for the annual Future Tech Conference. Aiden adjusted his name badge, his heart steady this time, not nervous but proud. Phoenix Creative had earned its place here. Invited to share its breakthrough campaign, unsustainable marketing. When he stepped onto the stage, applause greeted him. For a moment, the lights blinded him, and then he saw her. Isabella Harrington, sitting in the front row, representing Vanguard Industries. Her expression froze in disbelief, eyes widening as if seeing a ghost from a chapter she thought was closed. Aiden continued, unfazed. He spoke with quiet authority, his presentation packed with real data, results, and stories of collaboration. Every word reflected authenticity, everything her project had lacked. During the Q&A, Isabella's hand shot up. Her tone was polite but edged. "Mr. Khan, your model seems idealistic. Don't you think small firms like yours lack the infrastructure to sustain such growth long-term?" The audience murmured. Aiden smiled calmly. "Perhaps, but when you build on truth instead of ego, growth sustains itself." The crowd erupted in applause. Isabella's cheeks flushed, pride wounded. Yet beneath the sting, something else flickered. Curiosity. The conference had ended, but tension lingered like static in the air. Aiden was packing up his laptop when he heard the unmistakable sound of heels approaching. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. "Impressive presentation," Isabella said, her voice cool but tight. "Seems you've done well for yourself." Aiden straightened, meeting her gaze. Well enough to survive without stealing. Her expression faltered. "Excuse me." "You heard me," he said sharply. "That approved proposal you paraded in front of the board, it was mine. Word for word. You humiliated me, took credit, and thought I'd just disappear." Her lips parted, then pressed into a thin line. For a moment, pride battled guilt in her eyes. "I didn't steal it," she said finally, her voice quieter. "I improved it, or at least I thought I could. You made it sound perfect, and I wanted to prove I could be more than just the CEO's daughter." The words hung between them, raw, unpolished. For the first time, she didn't sound powerful. She sounded human. Aiden's anger softened, but didn't fade. He shook his head slowly. "You wanted to prove something, Isabella, but you didn't need to destroy someone else to do it." He turned to leave, footsteps echoing down the hallway. Yet, even as he walked away, her voice, trembling with honesty, lingered in his mind. Weeks later, headlines began surfacing. Vanguard's sustainability campaign fails to deliver. Critics called it shallow. Customers lost interest, and investors demanded answers. The project that was once Isabella's pride had become the company's biggest embarrassment. When Aiden's phone rang late one evening, he didn't expect to hear Mr. Harrington's voice. The CEO sounded older, wearier than before. "Aiden," he said, "we need your expertise. Vanguard can't afford another misstep. I should have listened to you the first time." Aiden sat in silence, the memory of that boardroom humiliation flashing through his mind. Part of him wanted to refuse, to let them taste the consequences. But another part, the one still driven by purpose, saw something else, a chance to finish what he'd started. "I'll do it," he said finally. When he walked into Vanguard again, he was no longer the nervous freelancer. And, standing beside the conference table, waiting for him, was Isabella. The irony hung heavy in the air. "Looks like we're working together again," she said quietly. Aiden's tone was neutral. "This time, let's make sure it's done right." Their collaboration began in tension. Sharp words, guarded glances. Yet beneath it, a fragile respect was beginning to form. Working together again was like walking a tightrope over old wounds. Aiden and Isabella clashed over everything: color schemes, marketing angles, even taglines. She was bold, instinctive. He was precise and data-driven. Meetings often ended with frustrated sighs and unspoken tension. Yet, as days passed, they began to notice something neither expected. Their ideas fit. Her creativity sparked his logic. His structure grounded her vision. Late nights in Vanguard's glass-walled office became their new rhythm. Coffee cups piled up, laughter replaced silence, and somewhere between strategy drafts and design mock-ups, their guarded walls began to lower. One evening, as city lights shimmered below, Isabella looked up from her notes. "Aiden," she said softly, "I was wrong. About everything. About you." He met her eyes, surprised by the sincerity in her voice. You had a lot to prove, he admitted. I get that now. Maybe I judged you before knowing the whole story. For a moment, silence lingered, comfortable this time. A smile curved her lips, small but real. So truce. Truce, he said, his tone warm. Outside, rain streaked the glass again, but this time it felt different. Gentler, like something new was beginning. The day of the final presentation arrived, a mirror image of that fateful morning months ago, but this time the energy was different. Aiden stood at the front of the same boardroom, no longer nervous, no longer seeking approval. Beside him stood Isabella, poised but humbled, her confidence now grounded in collaboration rather than pride. Their rework campaign was a masterpiece, bold yet honest, a fusion of creativity and integrity. It focused on real sustainability, highlighting community partnerships, renewable innovation, and transparent branding. As Aiden spoke, the slides came alive behind him, every point backed by genuine data and emotional storytelling. When he finished, silence filled the room, the kind that precedes respect. Then came applause, steady and genuine. Even the usually stoic executive smiled. Mr. Harrington rose from his seat. Remarkable work, he said, his gaze moving between them. This is what Vanguard stands for, truth and innovation. Well done, both of you. As they stepped down, Isabella leaned closer, her voice just above a whisper. Guess we didn't need your ideas after all. Aiden smiled, a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. No, he said gently. We needed our ideas. The success of the campaign brought celebration, headlines, and invitations. But for Aiden, it brought something deeper, closure. The next morning, as Vanguard's executives toasted their victory, he quietly met with Mr. Harrington in his office. You've done exceptional work, the CEO said, genuine pride in his voice. We'd like to offer you a permanent position here, leading our innovation division. Aiden smiled, grateful but certain. Thank you, sir. But I've already built something I believe in. Phoenix Creative still has wings to spread. Mr. Harrington nodded with respect. Then I won't stand in your way. As Aiden stepped into the corridor, Isabella was waiting. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she smiled faintly. So this is goodbye? Not necessarily, he replied. Maybe just see you at the next collaboration, professionally or otherwise. Her laughter was soft, genuine. I'll hold you to that. And with that, Aiden walked out of the same boardroom where he had once been dismissed and humiliated. But this time, every step rang with certainty, not doubt. As he reached the lobby doors, sunlight spilled across his path,